IXL section BB.1, characteristics of quadratic functions, graphs. This is the first of many IXLs that we're going to do on quadratic functions. This is an extremely important topic. We're going to go in baby steps, so I highly encourage you to do these IXLs on time and in order. If you do them that way, then you're going to totally understand everything there is to know about quadratic functions. And there's going to be a lot of questions on quadratic functions on your next Algebra 1 exam, as well as on the Algebra 1 end of course exam in May that you're going to have. All right, so I highly encourage you to do these in order and on time, because again, we're going to move in baby steps. And if you do it that way, you're going to understand. But if you let them all pile up and then try to do them in a couple weeks, you're going to be overwhelmed and it's going to seem too complicated for you. All right, so I highly encourage you to pay attention and to do them in order and to keep up and do them on time. Okay, now let's begin with looking at what is a quadratic function. A quadratic function is a function which can be written in this form: f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. A, b, and c are numbers, okay? A, b, and c are numbers. Now, the graph of a quadratic function is always a parabola. A parabola is just a fancy word for a U shape, right? So the graph of a quadratic function will always be a parabola, which is the red line that you're seeing here. If a is positive, then the parabola opens up. So a, remember, a is the number that's in front of the x squared. If a is a positive number, then the parabola opens up like here. And if a is a negative number, then the parabola is going to open down, like in this one. Okay, now let's take a look at a couple important things in these graphs, because we're going to be looking at them during the next several IXLs that you're going to do. Okay, many of them you already know. Okay, so first of all, in this parabola, this is the vertex right here. Notice that the vertex is the highest point on this parabola. Okay, whereas in this parabola, here's the vertex, and it's the lowest point. Okay, that's important. That's going to come up later. Okay, the y-intercept is the same as it's always been. The y-intercept is where does the line cross the y-axis. So here's the y-intercept and here's the y-intercept. Notice that in both of these examples there are two x-intercepts. Okay, so we have two x-intercepts in these examples. And the last thing I want to point out, and again, we're going to be using this in each one of the next IXLs. Okay, let's look at this line right here. This line right here divides the parabola into two perfect halves. That's called the axis of symmetry. That's extremely important. Okay, this is an extremely important thing. So just remember, the line that divides the parabola in half is the axis of symmetry. Okay, esto es muy importante. La línea que divide el parábola en dos mitades se le llama el axis of symmetry. Eso es muy importante y lo vamos a usar mucho. Okay, let us continue. Okay, so I have the questions that you're going to see in BB1 grouped under different categories. The first category that we're going to look at is, what is the y-intercept? All right, so this is very basic. What is the y-intercept? Okay, so just look at the graph of the parabola and see, where does it cross the y-axis? What number is it on the y-axis? Right here where it's crossing the y-axis, it's 0. So the y-intercept is 0 for this one. In this graph, what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is this number right here where the line crosses the y-axis. So it would be, the y-intercept would be 7. And then over here, what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. So here it would be -3. All right, that should be no problem at all because we've done that plenty of times this year. All right, let's move on to the next category. The next category is also simple. What are the coordinates of the vertex? Okay, so this should be, again, very simple. Here's the vertex. What are the coordinates? The x-coordinate is -3, and the y-coordinate is -9. Very simple. Look at this graph. What are the coordinates of the vertex? For this one, it would be 0, 0. Next graph. What are the coordinates of the vertex? Right here is the vertex. So 0, -4. Okay, now we're going to look at the axis of symmetry. All right, so remember the axis of symmetry. I want you to notice something. The axis of symmetry is located where the vertex is. Okay, so the axis of symmetry is always going to be the x coordinate of the vertex. I'll say it again. Here's the vertex. The axis of symmetry is always the x coordinate of the vertex. El axis de symmetry siempre el coordinado de x de el vertex. Eso es muy importante. Okay, so what is the equation of the axis of symmetry? Okay, all you need is, first of all, it says what is the equation. So I gotta write my answer like this. If you don't put x equals, it's gonna mark it wrong even if you put the number correct. Okay? So that's very important. Make sure you realize that before you start messaging me that you're putting the right answer and IXL is marking them all wrong. It says, what is the equation? That means you have to write an equation in the answer. You got to write x equals, and then you're going to put the x coordinate, because the equation of this line is x equals 3. Okay, the equation of this line is the axis of symmetry. It divides the parabola in half. The equation of that line is x equals 3. An easy way to think about it is you're just writing x equals and then put whatever is the x coordinate of the vertex. All right, I'm sorry, of the vertex. So the vertex right there is at 3, -7. All you're doing is writing x equals whatever this number is of the vertex. Okay, así que el axis de symmetry es la línea que divide el parábola a la mitad. Okay, la ecuación de esta línea es x igual a 3. Una manera fácil de pensar de cómo poner esta respuesta es simplemente poner x igual a, y este número siempre es el coordinado de x del vertex. ¿Okay? Aquí el vertex es 3,7, así que se pone x igual a 3. Siempre va a ser así. Okay? So, look at this. Hoy, como dice que te está preguntando qué es la ecuación del axis de symmetry, así que se tiene que escribir la respuesta en la forma de una ecuación. Si no escriben x igual a el número, te lo va a marcar mal IXL. All right, so right here, the axis of symmetry is obviously the x-axis. I'm sorry, the y-axis, forgive me. All right, the axis of symmetry is the y-axis, which is x equals 0. Because again, the vertex is located at 0, -8. All you're doing is writing the x coordinate of the vertex right there. Again, what is the equation of the axis of symmetry? This one, same thing. The axis of symmetry is the y-axis, which is x equals 0. So that's my equation of the axis of symmetry. And again, another way to think about it is that this is the vertex. You're just writing the x coordinate of the vertex right here. I'm going to keep doing that so that it'll sink in. Here, what is the equation of the axis of symmetry? Look at the vertex. The vertex is located at -1, -9. It's always going to be the x coordinate of the vertex. So the axis of symmetry is x equals -1. Another way to think about it is that this is the axis of symmetry right here, this line. And the equation of that line is x equals -1. Okay, so here again, what is the equation of the axis of symmetry? All right, so just look at the vertex. What is the x coordinate of the vertex? ¿Qué es el coordinado de x para el vertex? So the x coordinate is 1, so my axis of symmetry is x equals 1 because it's the equation of this line right here. Guys, that is super simple. I don't want to hear anyone complaining that you don't get it. Okay, now come time for the next category of questions, which is what is the minimum or maximum value of this function. Okay, what is the minimum or maximum value of this function? All right, so let me explain this a second. And just give me one moment because I'm giving a test while I record this video and I gotta unlock a student. Okay, so let me explain something. If the parabola opens down, then this is the highest point. Then the parabola has a maximum, but it does not have a minimum. It only has a maximum. Why does it not have a minimum? Because it keeps going down into infinity forever and ever and ever. Okay? It keeps going down to infinity. So therefore, it does not have a minimum. It only has a maximum point. That is why the question says, what is the maximum value? It does not say what is the minimum value, because that would be impossible to get. Okay, so the maximum value is always going to be the y-coordinate of the vertex. Okay, the maximum value is always the y-coordinate of the vertex. Let me write that here. Maximum value is always the y. Actually, let me say this. What the minimum and maximum value, it's always going to be the y-coordinate of the vertex. It's always going to be the y-coordinate of the vertex. So the maximum value is the y-coordinate of the vertex. Ok, así que como esta parábola se abre para abajo, solamente tiene un punto máximo, no tiene un punto mínimo, porque el parábola sigue para abajo hasta el infinito. Así que cuando te pregunta el valor máximo o mínimo, siempre el coordinado de Y del vertex. Okay, so here the vertex is at 0, 0, so I said it's the y coordinate of the vertex. So in this one, you're just writing the number, the value, not an equation. You just write the number. What is the maximum value of this function? 0. Okay, so this one, it opens up. The parabola opens up, so it has a minimum value. Como el parábola se abre para arriba, solamente puede tener un valor mínimo, no un valor máximo. So again, just get the y coordinate of the vertex. That is the minimum value. The vertex is located at -3, -9. Okay? El vertex es -3, -9. Así que otra vez, el valor mínimo o máximo siempre es el coordinado de Y del vertex. Okay? It's always the y coordinate of the vertex. So in this case, the minimum value is -9. Okay? Again, the parabola opens up, so it has a minimum value. Okay, just get the y-coordinate of the vertex. So the vertex is located at 4, -9. So the minimum value is -9. Okay, here the parabola again opens up. So they're asking you for the minimum value. It's the y-coordinate of the vertex. This one's easy because it's 0, 0. Well, they're all easy. So the minimum value is going to be 0. What is the minimum value of this function? So get the y-coordinate of the vertex, which is located at 2, -8. So the minimum value is -8. All right, guys, that's it for BB1. Stay tuned for the next IXL that we're doing today.